What's up? I'm Macklemore, Seattle, Washington, born and raised representative. Right now, Seattle is a bubbling place for music and primarily hip hop. I'm sure the indie rock scene's cracking too, but especially hip hop. I mean, right now, there's a lot of groups that have put out, in my opinion, some classic albums, and I think finally, like, Seattle is starting to get on a tip where the people are behind it, and the people have acknowledged like what is going on right here on our own soil, as opposed to, like, you know, along with national acts, and knowing that like the music that we're making right here is just as good, if not better, than some of these like national acts that come into town that we open up for, that, you know, we go and buy a tower or whatnot. And that's some exciting moves, because for a long time I feel like Seattle was on a tip where, you know, you almost got hated being from Seattle if you were from Seattle, you know, by other people. People wouldn't come out to shows, or like the openers wouldn't get the same love, and it was a much smaller circle. All of a sudden we have, like, you know, people like Blue Scholars able to go and sell out the showbox, or like, you know, pack in Shop Suey with 500 people for a local show. And that's something that, you know, it's kind of the first time, it's like the first time in at least, you know, hip hop generation that we've been able to go and do that. So it's an exciting time, man. I think Seattle has a sound. Seattle has like a feeling more than it does like a specific sound. I think that, you know, if you look at like other demographics of music, like you look at New York. New York has a very distinct sound. Like ATL, like down south, has a distinct sound. Like the West Coast, in terms of like California, has a distinct sound. The Northwest sound is just, it's not as commercially friendly, I believe, as like those other markets. It's definitely more, I hate to be cliche and use the word, but definitely more underground sounding, quote unquote conscious sounding. But, you know, I don't think that there's anybody in the town that's like really making like club bangers, or like, you know, that's really doing it original. You know, they might be trying to emulate what's going on in Atlanta, or might be trying to emulate what's going on in New York. But in order to really, like, for the industry to come to Seattle, I feel like we need to just be ourselves and set a new trend and set a new path. And the minute that happens, then the industry will come to Seattle. But as long as people are like trying to emulate what's going on in these different regions, it's going to stay the same, and Seattle's going to go unrecognized. It's something that I choose to touch on in my music, seeing as how I come from a privileged background, and in my music I strive to be as real and honest as possible, and touch on subjects that other people might overlook or not feel comfortable talking about. And me being white and being in a culture that, you know, was started predominantly with people of color, I feel like it's my responsibility to address the issue, take it upon myself to do it in a fashion that examines, you know, it from front to back, really look at it socially, really look at the benefits, look at the setbacks, look at everything in between, that that gives me the right to go and partake in a culture that's wasn't started as mine. Well, I feel like you definitely have the core group of Seattle hip hop people that are like really doing it in the town. I feel like everybody has a very unique style, and although it might be like, you know, some might get a reminiscent feeling to like throwback, like, you know, golden era of hip hop, or, you know, other different types of music that's been out there. I feel like in the end, what can be, it can be looked upon as like extremely original, in the fact that like nothing really has been done like it. There's not a sound out there that really is the same as a Seattle sound. And I think that the community in Seattle, although, like, you know, we have our little beefs and our corny shit that goes on in the sound, like, I feel like for the most part, cats respect each other. And, you know, in any scene, you're gonna have people talking shit behind your back. You're gonna have haters. You're gonna have jealousy. But when it comes down to it, I mean, I can call anybody in the town right now on the phone and, you know, get them on a track, and, you know, everybody's real peace and trying to build and essentially do the same thing. And I think that, you know, for a while, at least for myself, I felt real competitive. Like I needed to get to a certain point, and maybe it's because like I feel like I've gotten close to that point in Seattle that like the competitiveness is lessened. But I really realized that it's not about me competing against my peers. It's about me building with my peers so that people can get out of Seattle and people can get on tours, on national tours, and get exposed to the scene. Because in the end, that's only going to help me. And hopefully, there's enough community building and networking and just respect for one another's craft that in the end, that's all going to come back, and we're going to all benefit from it in the long term. So I think that that's exciting. Come out, support the scene, support shows, support your local artists, buy music, don't just download it. I know it's plentiful and the market is oversaturated, but this is how a lot of us support ourselves. So, the more love that you people can give us, the more that we'll be able to continue blessing you with the music that we make. So